Shalom.
Shalom.
I want to give all praise and honor and glory to
Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushai, Ba'Shem, Kakadash.
Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to you watching that are teaching the truth as a city across the four corners of the earth. With the GMS Atlanta campus, we coming with another prophecy through this article from shtf.com, which is short abbreviation for shithitthefan.com. And this was given out. I like to go back into how we came upon things that we researched through. We got it from Apostle Gabar to research, through this main media source of articles, and it's an alternative news source too as well. So it gives you the glimpse of what's happening in the dark that the government and the main media don't want you to know about. So the title reads, "American Apocalypse, the government's plot to destabilize the nation is working." And that's what's really about to happen. A lot of people have been talking about the Great Recession. Jerry Salente, he just mentioned it's going to be a greater depression.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be far worse than what people thought it was in the time of the Great Depression, back in 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
So the Most High, he's redoing history over and over again. The same thing that happened in those times before the war is the same thing that's happening in these times. And everybody, there's been rumors about World War III. So we got to go ahead and hop into this article. It says, this is a quote from H.L. McKean. And he was a famous journalist, satire. He had many different titles regarding his work. And you brothers can look it up in Wikipedia, Google. I'm about to read up on the quote, and then I'm going to jump into a little history of what he has done. It says, "The most dangerous man to any government is the man who is able to think things out." And that's what men of the Lord are doing. They deem you as a terrorist or extremist when you speak about the truth. You're really thinking things out because you're really trying to go to the source of everything, address every problem that is so you can be at peace, without regard to the prevailing superstitions and taboos. That's the man of the Lord. Almost inevitably, he comes to the conclusion that the government he lives under is dishonest, insane, intolerable. H.L. McKean. And it's true. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go to one of these, and you brothers can get the, whatever precept y'all got.
Mm-hmm.
It goes into the Wikipedia of the New Deal. Now, this is written by H.L. McKean. The New Deal was really initiated by President Roosevelt, but here are his thoughts on the New Deal. Now, it says the New Deal was a series of programs, public work projects, financial reforms, regulations enacted by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in the United States between 1933 and 1936. It responded to needs for relief, reform, and recovery from the Great Depression. Now, the same thing Trump is doing. That's why he called a national emergency and a government shutdown. He's talking about reforms. He's talking about different programs to get America great again. But what he ain't telling you is that America is in debt. America is literally at the bottom of the totem pole. Finna look into some more of his history. And it says right here, it says H.L. McKean was an American journalist, essayist, satirist, cultural critic, and scholar of American English. He commented widely on the social scene, literature, music, prominent politicians, and contemporary movements. His satirical reporting on the Scopes trial, which he dubbed the monkey trial, also gained him attention. And it goes into more. I'm gonna jump down to the point. It says McKean opposed both American entry into World War I and World War II. His diary indicates that he was a racist and anti-Semitic who probably used coarse language and slurs to describe various ethnic and racial groups, though he believed it was in poor taste to use such slurs publicly. McKean at times seemed to show a genuine enthusiasm for militarism, though never in its American form. And in that, Alex Jones, you got plenty of people that's like this towards the government, that's represented in a way such as H.L. McKean. Now, it just shows you that history repeats itself and that the Most High is working. Because we're in a time of World War III, we're in a time of a great recession. You got a lot of wise men of America, such as different economists, different wise men about monies, and that's what we're seeing today. We're seeing that these people are saying the same thing that H.L. McKean was saying, that look, this nation is all about lies, the government is all about lies, blah, 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 blah. So, started at the top of the article, it says the U.S. government is working hard to destabilize the nation. No, this is not another conspiracy theory, although it is certainly not far-fetched to suggest that the government might be engaged in nefarious activities that run counter to the best interests of the American people. Doing so will likely brand me a domestic terrorist under the FBI's new classification system. And they already got a classification system, Project Miguel. Black Hebrew Israelites, you see they put us in the category of Black Hebrew Israelites. But really, we are Israelites. There's no such thing as Black Hebrew Israelites, according to the scriptures. It says, observe for yourself what is happening right now before your eyes. Brothers, if y'all got scriptures, y'all can bring them out.
I got something quick.
Come.
Jeremiah 28:8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence. The prophet which prophesieth of peace, when the word of the prophet shall come to pass, then shall the prophet be known that Yahweh Shemel Shai have truly sent him. You know, and with us being on the onset of World War III, you know, just like the brothers going into, you know, these high-level politicians, the Trumps, the senators, the congressmen, you know, your governors, you know, people who are in these high places in the government, they're going to try to comfort the people with those comforting words, you know, and try to push the energy and vibration that they have everything under control, you see. But we're coming, before these things come to pass, through the spirit, power, and mercy, Yahweh Shemel Shai, to declare what really is going to happen, because it's already been prophesied, you see.
Yep.
And it won't be known, you see, it won't be known who actually has the understanding of this book and how powerful and how true this book is, okay, until everything manifests, including the death, the destruction, the pestilence, you see, even the famine of the word, you know, famine literally of resources, things of that nature. And even though, you know, people don't necessarily see us as valid sources of truth, you see, once everything happens and the dust clears, so to speak, then people gonna know. Because then when the kingdom of heaven is established and there is peace and harmony on earth, then it's gonna be like, yeah, you know, it's gonna come, you know, generations later, you'll be like, man, yeah, the story of what we're doing, it's gonna still be ringing. And you'll be like, yeah, peace did come to pass, and that's the truth, man. You see?
Yep.
But even like, those guys went to the apostles a couple weeks back, and trying to debunk them and say, well, how can you prove, blah, 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 blah. It's going to be proven when these prophecies fully come to pass, man.
Yep, and it's already come to pass. Revelation chapter 11, verse 14.
They just can't see it.
2 wars have passed and the third war coming quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's coming quickly because not too long ago, we had a World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, over 60?
About 60, 70 years around there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now it's like, the Lord is about to bring this place down.
And that ain't nothing. That can really be one generation,
Yep. It says, domestic terrorism fueled by government entrapment schemes. Civil unrest stoked to dangerous levels by polarizing political rhetoric, a growing intolerance for dissent that challenges the government's power grabs, police brutality, tactically encouraged by the executive branch, conveniently overlooked by the legislators, and granted qualified immunity by the courts. A weakening economy, exacerbated by government schemes that favor none but a select few.
And that's true too. If I can say really quick, because what you had within the last couple of weeks, you had what's called the inversion of the yield curve. In economics, an inversion of the yield curve is a sure tell sign of a recession. It's a highly predictive indicator of a recession. For the sake of time, I'm going into the ins and outs of it, but like the article said, it's a lot of these things are being exacerbated by the executive office, meaning Trump. He's going around and saying that Trump is orchestrating a lot of this, and a part of what they orchestrated to try to keep this economy pumping is cutting the Federal Reserve rate. They did that a week or two as well. After the inversion, I believe it was after the inversion of the yield curve, then they cut the federal fund rate, which cuts the prime rate of interest to lower it so borrowing money is cheaper.
And they did it in the other branches too as well. They cut senior living costs for medicines and a place to live.
Yep.
It says, an overt embrace of domestic surveillance tactics if Congress goes along with the Trump administration request to permanently reauthorize the NSA's deactivated call records program. It says heightened foreign tensions and blowback due to the military industrial complex profit driven quest to police and occupy the globe, that New World Order.
Mm-hmm.
And we're about to go into another war too.
Yep.
I mentioned earlier. It says the seeds of chaos are being sown, and it's the U.S. government that will reap the harvest of destruction. Because that's all America is in debt. So these other nations are ready to go to war, especially due to the fact that they know America is weak by its currency, and that the only backup that it has is only its military might, but ain't nobody gonna be trading and doing nothing with them no more.
I got something right quick.
Go ahead.
It's Galatians 6 and 7. Be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So
That's cut.
this country started on rape, robbery, murder by killing of the Native American Indians from the tribe of Gad, and then killing off taking the so-called Seminole Indians and bringing them on a trail of tears. And then during that period of time with slavery, you brought the so-called Negro, West Indian, and Haitian over here in cargo slave ships. So you people are wondering why America is going down, and you have articles like this It's because if you're sowing wickedness, that's what you're gonna get on the main front. And America started out with bloodshed, and